New York is a city built on layers, layers of history, layers of secrets, layers of things buried so long that most people walk right over them without knowing what happened beneath their feet. And for more than 3 decades, one of the darkest mysteries in New York City began and ended inside just a few city blocks. The disappearance of a little boy named Etan Patz, a case so old that the city around it transformed completely, while the question at its center never changed. What happened to the child who walked out his front door one morning and vanished between one corner and the next? And why investigators dug up a basement more than 30 years later, hoping the floor might finally give up its secret? If you were standing on Prince Street in the late 1970s, you wouldn't recognize it as the SoHo people know today. Back then, it was a strange mix of artists, metal shops, loading docks, lofts that families converted themselves, and small storefronts that smelled like coffee, cigarettes, and whatever was being cooked that morning. Kids rode skateboards down the cobblestones. Neighbors yelled greetings across the street. It was still rough around the edges, but it had a pulse. And in a 4th-floor loft at 113 Prince Street lived the Patz family, a family that had no idea that the decision they made on a warm Friday morning in 1979 would change the city forever. That morning was May 25th. The school year was almost over. Etan Patz was 6 years old and excited because his parents had finally agreed to let him do something he'd been asking to do for weeks: walk alone to the school bus stop. The stop was only 2 blocks away, a straight line from their loft to the corner of Prince and West Broadway, something thousands of New York kids did every day. Etan put on his blue jacket, grabbed the dollar he planned to use at the corner store, pulled on his little future flight captain cap, and stepped out the heavy loft door into the morning light. That was the last moment anyone could say with certainty they saw him alive. When he didn't come home that afternoon, panic spread fast. His parents called neighbors, called the school, called the police. NYPD detectives swarmed the block. The subway, rooftops, fire escapes, alleys, and basements were searched again and again. The city held its breath, and as hours turned into days, Etan's school photo began appearing everywhere, taped to storefront windows, lampposts, mailboxes, that shy half-smile staring back at millions of New Yorkers. Very quickly, the mystery of one little boy became the darkest missing child case the city had ever seen. Decades before Amber Alerts, decades before parents worried the way they do now, this case changed everything. It changed how America reported missing children. It changed how police handled disappearances. And it changed how strangers looked at each other on New York streets. But at the start, detectives kept circling the same small area, those 2 blocks from the loft to the bus stop. And if you walk that path today, it takes maybe 90 seconds. That short stretch became the entire universe of the case. And down inside that universe were the parts most people never think about: the basements, the cellars hidden under the storefronts, those low-ceilinged rooms with old pipes and concrete floors where the city keeps its shadows. One of the people investigators looked at early was a neighborhood handyman named Othniel Miller. He worked in the basement of 127B Prince Street, just down the block from the Patz family. Back in 1979, Miller's basement wasn't a bakery or a shop yet. It was a workshop, wood shavings on the floor, tools everywhere. Sometimes he gave local kids small tasks to earn a little money. The night before Etan disappeared, he had allegedly given the boy $1 for helping sweep, and the same basement was also used by the SoHo Playgroup, a parent-run preschool co-op. Some former members believed Etan may have been involved with the group, though that detail has never been confirmed beyond memory and proximity. The original investigation checked the basement, but there was no blood, no body, no physical evidence, and Miller was never charged. For years, that basement just sat there, becoming one more unanswered thread in a case full of them. Then the city changed. SoHo turned into a place of boutiques, galleries, cafes, bakeries, designer storefronts. Families moved out. International brands moved in. But inside the Patz family loft, Etan's parents stayed. Same number, same home, same desperate hope that one day someone somewhere would tell them the truth. By 2010, the case had grown cold. Then, newly elected Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. reopened it. Detectives re-walked every step, reread every lead, re-examined every basement, and when they got to the old notes on the handyman's workshop, they stopped. The basement had been renovated after the disappearance. The floor leveled, patched, changed. Something about that timing and that connection made investigators look twice. In a case with no body and no physical evidence, a place like that becomes impossible to ignore. So on an April morning in 2012, Prince Street woke up to a scene that looked like a movie set. NYPD detectives, federal agents, cadaver dogs, plastic tents, heavy equipment, all gathered around a cast-iron building as they prepared to dig up the basement floor. Rumors spread instantly. They found something. People whispered. They finally got him. The news cameras showed up. Neighbors gathered behind barricades. For the first time in decades, it looked like the city might be about to answer a question that had haunted it since 1979. Inside the basement, investigators broke up the concrete slab, piece by piece. They emptied buckets of dirt into sifters. They sprayed luminol on the walls looking for the telltale blue glow of old organic stains. In one section, the luminol lit up enough for them to cut out a chunk of wall for testing. They collected hair found in the dirt. They collected small bone fragments. Everything was sealed and shipped to the FBI lab in Quantico. For a moment, it felt like the kind of scene where the truth finally rises out of the ground. But when the results came back, reality slammed the brakes. The bones were animal, not human. The luminol glowing stain did not test positive for blood. The hair did not match a child like Etan Patz. After days of work, the basement gave investigators nothing. No body, no trace, no breakthrough, just absence. But the dig still mattered. The publicity jolted the case back into the national spotlight, and someone across the river in New Jersey paid attention. Relatives of a man named Pedro Hernandez came forward. They said that for years Hernandez had been telling people at prayer meetings and family gatherings that he had killed a child in New York decades earlier. His story sounded too close to the Patz case to ignore. When detectives sat him down in 2012, Hernandez gave a confession. He said that in 1979 he was an 18-year-old stock clerk at a small bodega near the bus stop. He said he saw Etan walking by with $1. He invited him downstairs to the basement for a soda, and in that cellar he choked the boy until he fell still. He said he put the body in a bag, into a box, and carried it out with the trash. No physical evidence has ever backed up that confession. The bodega changed hands multiple times. The basement changed too. Pipes replaced, floors fixed, walls repainted. There was nothing left to test. All investigators had were Hernandez's words, and people who said he had whispered pieces of that story for years. His defense argued he had mental illness, low IQ, hallucinations, that he was suggestible, that he could have been led into describing something he didn't do. His first trial ended with a hung jury. The second trial brought a conviction. Years later, a federal appeals court overturned it, saying the jury wasn't properly instructed about his confessions. Today, the case sits in limbo once again, suspended between guilt, doubt, silence, and time. So what did they find in the cellar of that New York building? Nothing and everything. In one basement, they found dust, old brick, animal bones, and a family's last hope crumbling back into concrete. In another basement, they found nothing but a man's fragile confession. And between those two dark rooms lies the real story, that a missing child case can last long enough for a neighborhood to transform, for a city to rewrite itself, for storefronts to become bakeries and boutiques, and for a single unsolved question to outlive everyone's expectations. Where did Etan Patz go when he stepped off that curb in 1979? New York dug through basements, ripped open floors, poured chemicals on walls, followed suspects across decades, and after all of it, the city is still standing there on Prince Street asking the same question it asked more than 40 years ago.